Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I gotcha. It's just BlueStacks
Sounds good.
occasionally just I don't know what it is. BlueStack, there's like a BlueStack brownout or something. I don't know what the heck happens with BlueStack. Sorry about that, guys. So anyways, yeah, I think we shouldn't judge anybody where they're at in the game. So if you're a new player or you're an end game player, I want to help both of you. I want to help people who are free to play and people who are spending and everything in between. I mean, that's what we want to accomplish here, so that everyone, I think, everyone can learn from everyone else. And I've learned some really important things in the game, from you. So I think that's having different perspectives. I think is an important thing.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Whenever I built a Discord, I figured the best way to make my rules was to just basically use the main MSF Discord, and the only rule I added was basically don't like judge people for whether they spend or not. I definitely fully agree with that, and all of us are in different places in life, and different amounts of spending, different parts of the world, and so that's like a huge thing, and I really like that about our two communities, that people don't judge people for whether they want to spend or not, because in other communities they do. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, Uh, yeah. One thing I will just say, by the way, too, is we got a great question here about ISO energy. I I do refresh the ISO energy, and I think that that is a good use of cores. And by the way, while I was gone, thanks, Dara, for following. But I will just say that a lot of people disagree with me, and I guess I think that ISO provides a lot of power to my characters. So I really want to get my characters to level 3, level 5 ISO, but for other people that's not important. I think it's underrated, and I think people should be doing those refreshes as well. So that's my view on it. Uh-oh. Did we lose stream? Are we back on stream? Can you hear me, Voltage Sauce? Can everyone hear me? Hmm. Oh, okay. Anyway, it's just when Rezi said no stream. Okay, no one can hear Voltage Sauce. That's good to know. Can you hear me, Voltage Sauce? Huh. Not sure what the issue is. We lost Voltage Sauce. Hey, Voltage Sauce, can you hear me now? Yeah, we've lost Voltage Sauce. I don't know how the heck that is. Voltage Sauce, maybe can you leave the Discord and come back? Maybe that'll help. If you need to be level 5 green to equip the new blue, um, then that is, that's interesting. Okay, you know what, Voltage Sauce? I'm going to leave the Discord then and come back. Hold on. Sorry, guys, we got technical difficulties. Can you hear me now, Voltage Sauce? Can you hear me now?
I can. Yep.
Oh, we got Voltage Sauce back. All right, we did it. All right, guys. You know what? The internet's not going to defeat us with its evil technology. So I got to tell you, you guys have to understand. I'm 44 years old, so Discord is like, I mean, I'm an old man for Discord. I don't, understanding how everything operates is bad. So I'm sure that there's something I'm doing wrong. Um, so why Proxima Midnight over Corvus Glaive? Okay, so Aqua, are you asking that in the context of DD3 and DD4? I assume that's why you are. So let me just say to you, we'll look at the two characters right here. So why did I bring Proxima Midnight to DD4 and DD3 and not Corvus Glaive? Well, So one thing you have to understand about the enemies in Dark Dimension is they have like tons of health. I don't know if it's a million health or 500,000 health, or it's like millions of health, something like that. So your damage numbers don't mean a lot. But what matters a lot is getting status effects on the enemy. And when you look at Proxima Midnight, she clears 2 positive effects on her basic, on her special. She applies offense down for 2 turns to multiple targets. She stuns and reduces the speed bar there. So these are all really powerful effects. Whereas Corvus Glaive, Corvus Glaive is just pure damage. And here, hold on, I got to get there. So when you look at Corvus Glaive, yeah, he does clear some positive effects. But other than that, it's just damage, damage, and that's it. And so he's more just a damager. And in Dark Dimension, the damage numbers are great when you're dealing with normal characters, but when you're dealing with Dark Dimension, those damage numbers don't matter. And it's why the characters that have this percentage of drain, like Ebony Maw, where he's got health steal, that is actually more important because it steals 15% of the health or whatever it is. Well, if you've got a million health, that's 150,000 damage. Okay. All right. So that hopefully answers that question. VoltageSauce, do we have other questions from the Discord?
We do. There's actually quite a few still. There's still some good ones, and some of them kind of more lean towards end game stuff.
Okay.
So I
Good.
figure maybe I think it still kind of helps them. We talked about it a little bit. So one question that came in: I have an Elite Six, and I don't know when I should open it. Do I wait for a new legendary, or do I, which character do I go for?
Wow.
And the disclaimer was that they don't typically get 4 stars. They don't get higher than 4 stars on new characters because they don't typically buy multiple offers or anything like that. So,
Wow.
do you open Elite Six and try and get on a character like the ones coming out, or do you wait for Legendary, who you're going to have at least 5 stars on, if not higher? So
It's a great question. So, what you really want to do is spend it on a character that looks to be one of the strongest characters in the game. We just had one with Bishop that came out where I think Bishop is a very Red Star dependent character. I really went hog wild on Red Star orbs for Bishop because I really wanted to get Bishop above 5 Red Stars and I just couldn't accomplish it. Um, because he to me is like a very Red Star and gear dependent character. Um, but coming up, we're gonna have X Factor. If you're a player who had all the X Factor the long shot and Shatterstar characters at decent stars and had put gear into them, if one of those X Factor looked to be super powerful, I wouldn't mind pulling the 6 Red Star then. For the people are saying Silver Surfer, maybe we don't know what Silver Surfer is going to look like. I assume they're going to make Silver Surfer powerful. But I don't know what they're going to do with Silver Surfer. I mean, it's weird. I always thought of him as a potential legendary, but I guess not. Jubilee's the legendary, not him. Um, yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I think what you want to do is pull it on a character that both looks to be very strong, like everyone's like, wow, but also looks to be a character that's star dependent, red star dependent. In other words, the reason Longshot is such a good choice is he's a damager. Okay, damagers like Black Bolt or Longshot are characters that scale very well with red stars. The characters that heal a lot with percentage of their health also gain a lot from red stars, like Emma or Doc Ock. They can just go crazy when they're at 6 or 7 Red Stars. Um, those are really where it comes. Whereas a character like Proxima, it doesn't really matter as much. I mean, it gives her more health and so forth, but mostly she's putting status effects on the enemy, so it doesn't matter as much there. So Jubilee is an example. Like even though she's legendary, I'd rather have my big red stars on Bishop than Jubilee because Jubilee is like putting blinds and stuff. As long as she can land her blinds and lands her stun and call the assists and so forth, it doesn't really matter how many red stars she has as long as she's not dead. And whereas Bishop, he's your main damager and your main tank. Tanks also benefit from red stars, and since he's both, that does a lot. Hold on, I gotta go on mute again for a second, so let me do that. And VoltageSauce,
Sounds
maybe you
good.
can take the reins for a minute.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll offer slightly different perspective because I just won't have a lot of the new characters at high stars. So for example, I have Jubilee at 5 stars and Bishop. I bought an offer and he'll maybe be 5 stars. If I hadn't bought an offer, he'd probably be 3. So for me to open an Elite Six for Bishop, even though I do want that later, it's probably going to be months, if not longer, to get those stars filled. So that's definitely something I wrestle with. I generally try and think about how many yellow stars I will have on those characters when I open elites. Not even just Elite Sixes, but just like my elite orbs in general. So, for example, with the campaign characters coming up, it was mentioned that if you spend all of the 50s and 2 100s, that you generally will get that character to 5 star. So I would feel more comfortable opening an elite orb on them, especially if they look like a good character, versus someone that I'm just going to have at 3 star. And it's yeah, there's definitely some value to potentially just saving the orb for some really good character. Yeah, it's really tough to know which character to, you know, that is going to be the character that just, everyone just knows right off the bat that they're really good. Like I think people are kind of down on Symbiote Spider-Man when he originally came out. Can I repeat what I said about the 50s and 100s? Sure. So when the campaign starts on Friday, um, it's a white tiger campaign. You can spend cores to get extra fragments to get more orbs. And I think the general consensus is that if you spend all of the 50s and 2 100s a day, I think the events are typically 14 days, then that should generally get you to 5 stars for the new character, plus all the shards for the other characters too. You already have White Cougar. I found out late. She's mostly for late game players. So one of the things that I'll just offer my perspective on on new characters. So a lot of people see that they're being advertised and they might even have in their kit that it's a war character. But there's a lot of characters that are good outside of war too. So I honestly haven't looked at the character kits too much. I'm not like a big theory crafter for new characters, but I will kind of know that I'm going to have decent stars on her. So for example, I chose to open some red stars for her. Um, so I'll have her at 5 reds. So I'm going to try and get her to 5 yellows. And there's potential that she's useful in raids or something that's not just war. But if all she ends up being is a war team, then yes, she'll be mostly for late game players. How do you get the Dad Bros? So right now they are not farmable. The only way to get them, like for sure, is to spend money on them. Um, the other way, the White Cougar, White Claw, White Tiger character, her event has these orbs that we've been talking about, and they are in that orb. So that's one way. Shatterstar is in some of the Greek orbs, for example. So there's only kind of orbs or spending. How much gold should I spend daily? Trying to balance everything, advancing my roster, while stockpiling for the next Emma style event. So I think one thing you can do is based on your alliance that you're in and how active you are and things like that. You can try and figure out how much gold you actually get a day. Um, so it's going to vary based on those factors how much gold you have. So figure out how much gold you want to have saved for the next Emma style event, and there could be a few approaches to that. So you could spend money and try and be saving a certain amount per day and kind of guess when the next Emma event is. Something else you could do is say, I want to have 20 million gold for the next Emma event. So you could get to 20 million gold and then spend anything you get over that. Like Phil mentioned, you probably don't, there's very few times where it's a good idea to go over the milestone because then you're just kind of giving away free resources. 100 might be enough. That's correct. So even all the 50s might even be enough sometimes. So it's very, it's orbs, so it's all RNG, it's all random. But the general consensus is that two 100s daily is pretty safe. Yeah, sorry, not itself, the Emma style milestone releases. So we don't know who the next character will be. It might be Moon Knight. We don't know what kind of milestone he'll be. That it's been confirmed that or it's been rumored that he's a milestone character. So it could be Emma style, or it could be more of like a Blitz style milestone release. Um, Correct. So that'll be one way to go about it. Would be to save 30 million and spend anything you have over that. That way you have the gold for whenever the event comes, and then you don't have to worry about you know saving a certain amount and trying to gauge exactly what you'll spend each day. But typically, it's a good idea to try and spend and hit one of the milestones on the nail. That way, you're maxing out the amount of resources you're getting. So if you end up being like 50,000 off a milestone, then you've just kind of thrown away free gear. Yeah, it could be Silver Surfer. If I had to just guess, and I don't have any insider knowledge or anything like that, um, I would guess that Moon Knight is not an Emma style event. I think it's a little bit too early for that, but I don't really know. So I kind of keep throwing out this on the Beginner Hideout Discord. We do have a calculator for Emma style events, so you can input how much gold you have, what your daily income is, and things like that, and it'll spit out how many shards you can expect to get. It also depends on what kind of alliance you're in. So you get rewards, you get shards from the World Warrior milestones. So you have to kind of factor that in if you're in an active alliance. Yeah, I'm definitely not recommending that everyone save 30 million. I'm just saying for people that are able to and want to try and max out the event, then that's one way. I also will not save up 30 million gold, but for some people that might be able to. How many
Hey,
gold orbs do you think equates? Oh, you're back.
hey, I'm back. Sorry about that. I actually am a lawyer, so I have clients who occasionally need my help. So sorry about that. Um, can't ignore them. Um, but yeah, look, in this game, if you want to be able to hoard your orbs and stuff, the question is just, can you afford to do it? It really depends on what stage of the game you're at. That's for sure. Oh, hey, Bob. Yeah, so what? Let's. I'm happy to do that tonight. Let's just do it after I'm done with VoltageSauce because we're having some good discussion. We still have some really good questions. The six red star one I thought was really cool. Hey, Hozinator, thank you for the sub. Thank you for the sub, my friend. So here's what I would just say. So Bob, yeah, we will do that a little later tonight. I'm going to do a roster review and kind of discussion for Bob, who is a little later in the game than some of you. He's past the DD3 range. I think he's getting ready for DD4, and we're kind of going to talk through some of the dilemmas he has. Um, but one thing I was just going to say, we were before we broke, we were asking about the six elite orbs. I saved mine and I used them for Doc Ock, and then Bishop, and then Jubilee. Those are the ones that I use them for. Hey, the Logan Force, thanks for the follow. So I'm sorry. Do we have some? What topic are we going to be on now? Voltage Shot's like
Basically, we are just
our moderator, almost like today.
pretty much, yeah. So we were doing some chat questions, but I think we got most of them. So another question that came in, and I think this one was kind of specific, but I think we can make it more general. But basically, the question is, when we get these brand new new teams, you know, especially for endgame players, it might not be that hard to get them to like kind of a low usable level,
Mm-hmm.
or is it better to invest in the existing teams? So this person asked specifically, is it better to get my team from 350k to 400k for a team like Shadowlands, or is it better, the people that they already have at high yellows and decent reds like Sinister Six, Mercs, Hella Natural, other somewhat meta teams, and kind of try and push them to like 500k? Is
It's a
I
great
think we can kind of
question. That's a great
answer
question.
that into
That's an advanced one. First of all, before we get to that, I want to thank we got some new followers. Thank you, the Logan Force. Thank you, Itchy. Thank you, Harlequestrian. Thank you for the follows. But this is all very dependent on where your roster is at. So, for me, I'm an end game player. I've already beaten DD4 twice a month ago, or now 45 days ago. So I'm sort of at a spot where I'm trying to compete in very high end alliance wars and so forth. So for me, building up the Axemen to 500K was a reasonable thing for me to do because I have a lot of resources and I have the characters at high stars. And so I think it's but for a player who is really unlimited resources and is trying to gear up for GD4, it's a different story. And I think what I would say is, hey, Canella, thank you so much, my friend, for the subscription. I really appreciate that. So, and I thank you, Canella, as a player that I've helped many times in the past. So, what I was going to say is, to me, it's really context dependent, and for most players, unless you've beaten DD4 twice, really your goal is going to be to try to focus on beating DD4 and going all in on those sort of characters, or for example, if you are not in DD4 yet, it's DD3, and I wouldn't even worry about building up teams until you're at such a high point. So really, it would just be about building them up to a point with the excess materials you have so that you're able to have them competitive in Alliance War or competitive in or getting them to Blitz. So the way I think about it, for let's say when I'm working on Dark Dimension, when I was still in that mode, the only characters I was spending orange gear on were the Dark Dimension characters. And then with purple gear, I would spend excess purple gear. In other words, I wouldn't get myself to a spot where I was getting held back in Dark Dimension because I didn't have enough catalyst or something, but I'd spend my extra purple gear on characters that I needed to get up to gear tier 12, let's say, because I'm at a more advanced stage, to get them to wherever for Alliance War. And then you have kind of what I'll say these lower end teams. I only work on the lower end teams that are like the blitz teams if I have nothing else to do. So if like all my war teams are basically where I want them to be, or at least where I can spend for the resources I have. In other words, if putting the orange gear to the side because that's all Dark Dimension until you finish them, is if I can't afford to use any more purple gear on my war teams, I can't improve those war teams anymore. Then I start working on green and blue gear or whatever for blitz. But that's really kind of the way I think of it. I don't think of it like, oh, I need to get this team to 200K or this team to 500K or whatever. The exceptions to that, of course, are if I want to introduce a new character to my arena team, obviously then I start, I need to get it up to a certain power level so it could compete in arena. All right, is that
Yeah,
helpful?
I think that, yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, and I kind of have a different perspective on it, and
Oh,
part of it's
great.
because I just don't have the same resources that you do. So for me, like I pretty much just don't even pay attention to new characters, like when
Interesting.
they get announced and stuff like that, because I just won't
Mm-hmm.
have the stars and the red stars for the most part. Like I basically will wait and see if they're actually a good team before I'll commit too much to them. Um, so for me, it's like um, I'll just kind of keep building existing teams until it's like proven that the new team is worth building. So
Well,
I don't
see,
know, just
we're not that different then, VoltageSauce, because it's just the time difference. In other words, what I do is when a new team comes out, I spend all this time talking to all my friends who are like the Super Kraken players and the top alliances, and I'm like, okay, have you gotten, because there's some people. I'll give you an example that everyone knows. Everyone knows Reminex. He's a friend of mine, and I'll ask Reminex because he builds. He is the opposite of me. He will spend if you put a dime in his pocket, he'll spend it immediately. So he's going to immediately, which is great for me, to learn from his wisdom, learn from his mistakes or his successes or whatever. I'll learn from his experiences, and I can just say, hey, okay, Remen, what does it look like for Axeman? Which characters do I want big? What ISO? Whatever, and then I basically learn from what he did. But that's essentially that doesn't take me long, right? Whereas, but what you're saying is essentially because you're getting them at low stars, you might wait a really long time. I mean, you may end up waiting 6 months.
yeah. I mean, the Dad Bros are probably a really good example of like where we differ. You're investing like everything into them and spending red promo credits, and I've launched it at 3 star. So it's like
Yeah.
I have to kind of gauge. It's like he's on my radar as like something that even at low stars he's probably worth taking up, but probably not the same way that he would be if I had him 6 or 7 red star or whatever.
Well, that's why I
Just
think
a slightly
we
different perspective.
yeah, I think we both have valuable perspectives to offer to people. Here's what if you're not, let's say you're a free to play player and you're a mid game player. What can you take away from what I'm showing you here? Like you're seeing, by the way, this is alpha 4.3. It's very difficult content, and you see I'm just steamrolling it. This shows you're doing like how VoltageSauce is saying. He'll see how other people are using the characters. Use me as your guinea pig, right? I am figuring out what the best characters in the game are for you. I'm figuring out. I'm telling you where the game is going. So with whatever resources you do have, you invest them in a smart way. And what VoltageSauce is doing, VoltageSauce is this really smart player, really savvy player who talks to beginners and people like me and has kind of a wide-eyed view, but can give you the perspective of how you manage a more limited set of resources. So I think that there are two different perspectives that can help you no matter where you're at in the game, whether you're end game, you want to copy my teams, fine, or you're a mid game player and you're like, okay, what teams am I going to be shooting for in the long haul? Major Payne's got an interesting question. I'm currently working on my DD4 roster. I'll be entering with Thanos, Sinister, Zemo, Ghost, and SSM. I'm thinking Emma for my fourth global, and I really want to do Dad Bros for Cosmic. Who should my fourth Cosmic be, Hela or Minerva? Well, that is very dependent on what uniques you have and what else you're bringing in. Because if you don't want to go too heavily into Mystic or too heavily into Tech and run out of uniques. But if all other things being equal, in terms of value outside of DD4, I would say Hela for two reasons. One, Hela is really become more important on War Offense as part of the Hela Naturals team, which you can see on my War Offense tier list. I just typed in the chat. And then in addition to that, I think she's more important in the Mystic nodes of the Doom raid and the 4.3 raids than Minerva is in the tech nodes. There's other tech characters like Doc Ock and Shuri that can kind of carry the healing in those nodes, whereas I really feel like in the Mystic nodes, Hela is just one of your top two or three, top three options there. Um,
Yeah, and
what,
make
what
sure
do
you're
you,
using some of the resources out there to figure out how many uniques all these characters are, because Sinister, Emma, both Dad Bros, and potentially like Phoenix or Jubilee or something is going to be a lot of mutant. So just make sure you're kind of getting a good plan that makes sense for the number of uniques you have, and um, you know paying attention to different origins and stuff.
Absolutely 100%. So great advice there. One thing I'm just going to say, by the way, while I'm talking to you, as you guys can see, I'm running. This is the global lane for 4.3 beta, or was this alpha? No, beta. One thing, am I right about our man? I can always get these two confused. Alpha. One thing that could be a challenging lane for people. Obviously, I'm running Doom, which you guys don't have. But one combination that is really important, and this is why this character is, I think I put her on the rise in my stock watch, which we were looking at the stock watch earlier. I'm going to bring it back up here for us. Up, I gotta bring up my window capture here. Hold on one second, so you guys can see the stock watch. Well, never mind. Anyway, so but in the stock watch, one reason I said that Shuri was her stock was going up is because she is really helpful in this global lane, and she's helpful in the other Greeks because she gives you defense up, um, and she also so defense up gives you 50% damage reduction, and then you also have um, with Yo-Yo you get offense down, which gives you 50% offense reduction, damage reduction on the enemy. So it really kind of combines to give you a lot of protection, and that I think is a really good combo for this lane. Oh, it's Tana. Tana's rating with a party of 21. Thank you, Tana. Thanks for joining us. So, Tana, we got VoltageSauce here, who's such a fantastic resource. Uh,
Hey,
Vol-
Tana.
So so anyway, I even lost my train of thought of what I was talking about, and I actually screwed up my attack by putting Captain America in here. Captain America negates the yo-yo. We're gonna
I was
see.
wondering about that.
I wasn't paying attention because I was too busy chatting with the players. Luke Cage does give you defense up, but he's a little slower than Shuri, who's one of the fastest characters in the game. We're gonna see if with my yo-yo here if we can make it. Oh no, I screwed up big time. You want to have when you use yo-yo, you don't want to have another protector on your team, and I just wasn't paying attention. I was just clicking buttons and chatting with you guys. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, but what topic were we on? I get so busy chatting that I lose my train of thought sometimes here.
I think we kind of jumped around a little bit. If you want, I can do like two more questions and then let you move into all your end game stuff. I know you want to do roster review and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds great.
All right. So one question, I'm mostly just curious to hear your thoughts because this has been a pretty heated thing throughout my whole Discord. First of all, do you think it's worth buying? And then two, which character should you get? The Ghost versus Cole offer. So it's going to be three offers for I think $10 each. So $30 for like 250 shards potentially.
Hmm.
So just curious if you have thoughts on who you'd recommend to beginners and um,
It's a great question. So here, I guess, would be my take on this. So first of all, whether you should get an offer, I think, really depends on your budget and a lot of other things. So in other words, players always ask me, is this worth it or is that worth it? It depends. Worth it to you, right? It depends on, if you're somebody who really is having has a lot of trouble spending a dollar or two on the game, then for you, spending $10 an offer may be too much. So I do think that it depends. That said, if you are somebody who does get offers in the game, my take on it is that this is one of the best deals, right? Just sort of as a, if you're doing offer review, right? This is a good, efficient use of resources, right? Because these are two very, very hyper rare characters that you otherwise wouldn't get. You get 70. Was it 75 shards for $10? Is that what it is? Voltage
it
sauce.
doesn't add up exactly. It's like some odd number,
Okay.
but I think the total is like 250 for all three. I could probably figure it out real quick.
Well, whatever it is, it's a lot of shards. So I think you get over seven. I think you get over 75 shards for $10, something like that. So I think that's a very good price for premium type character, like some of the best characters in the game, as opposed to a lot of the shard offers aren't, right? That said, I will say this. If your character is very new, if your account is very new, I have a different perspective. In other words, to me, if I was going to spend a little bit of money on the game and I was a new player, spending your money on getting Hella or spending your money on some other really key new player offer may be more important. If you're only spending a little bit on the game, right, and you're a newer player. But for almost, for any mid game or end game player, this is a very good quote deal if compared to other MSF type deals. And I guess what I would just say about it is, it does give you the opportunity to get an orb exclusive character that's really powerful and on, the second most important character on, the quote best team right now. And then obviously Ghost is a key legendary unlock that is only, war store farmable, which is so difficult to do to get. So I would do it, and then which character you use. Well, I think it depends a little bit on where you are in stars. Like if you're somebody who's struggling to get, Cole's fifth star or something, getting that last bit that you need to get to the fifth star, could be more important, right? But then, I think otherwise, my gut would be in the long run, if it helps you get Jubilee. I mean, Ghost, I think is the more I think is as long as you have call to a reasonable star level, instead of kind of maximizing Black Order, I would usually be going Ghost unless that either like I said you have to get to you need to get to a new star level, or your arena team is Black Order and you really need to hold an arena.
Yeah, it's cool. The chat's kind of blowing up already because it is such a heated topic, and it's the reason why it ended up being split because everyone had different opinions, and I definitely lean the same way as you. Um, for me, it's like a no-brainer to do Ghost, even though Cole's not farmable. The War Store is really tough. I've never been at a point where I'm just like, what do I spend in the War Store? And me and you both focus Dark Dimension as our number one priority. So as long as I need gear level 15 uniques out of there, it's basically in my mind. I'm like getting the credits for that. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that, but I do think coal is so hard to unlock, and there's people that get maw and don't have coal. So I do think there's some value in maybe unlocking coal potentially, if someone's gonna like get maw because the Black Order team doesn't work unless you have all five. So I think it's an interesting kind of puzzle, and I think it is going to be a little bit different for different people's roster. But it is funny seeing the stream kind of blow up when I brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. No
Oh,
question.
the other thing, since since me and you are a little bit different from like the financial perspective, I've said I spend $50 a month, and like for me, I think this is really good value. So, I'll pretty much always buy the battle pass probably. So right there, I'm down $20 or whatever. So I have
Mm.
$30 to spend. So I can either buy a new character offer or I can buy this offer. And so for me, I'm probably going to choose to buy these offers. And that's just the way I'm going to prioritize my
Mm-hmm.
what I call dolphin budget. Just because I think it's crazy to get these kind of rare characters, 250 shards versus the money I probably would spend on a new character, and probably wouldn't get all that much. So
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, Ted Cross is an example of like you only have one Black Order member. Honestly, Ted Cross, I don't even know if you want to unlock Cull that much. In other words, if you don't have the rest of Black Order, why bother? If you don't have Ebony Maw, I would just say don't worry about it. Don't worry about it if you don't have Ebony Maw. Just forget Cull and focus on the characters, that are that the character that Ghost, which will help you get a legendary. That would be my gut on that. Because by the time Black Order right now is a team that will be trending down soon, is my belief at least. And so I wouldn't be in a hurry to, or I wouldn't be trying right now to build up Black Order. I think it'll be an important team. Um, I do think it'll be an important team for a long time to come because it's so overpowered. Um, but I also think that it will also become easier to obtain over time. And so I just think Cull's not going to be this rare forever. Black Order's not going to be the top team forever. For a long time it was hard to get Colossus, right? Now, Colossus is a lot easier to get, right, in terms of the context of the entire game. So that's just sort of my gut on it. Yeah, I agree. Jumpy is too overpowered.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll leave us with one last question. I think I'll gear it towards beginners, and then we can kind of roll it into end game and let you get back to your thing. So I
Sure.
want to get your thoughts on just war in general, the format. Um, I think it's kind of, so it's my favorite mode, but it's not like super fun for beginners because you don't really have many teams, or you don't really have the team to the resources to build the team. So one, just kind of curious your thoughts on war, and then two, do you think that they're gonna update the format at all? And that can be more of an end game type question.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my thought on War. I do find more fun. I think it's a fun game mode, and it's one of these things that players that otherwise are frustrated with the game have a lot of fun with War. In other words, I think we've all met these players who are like they hate the game so much, and they constantly talk about how much they hate the game. Which it's fine, and I get it, but it just gets old. But if they're in your alliance, let's say, or something like that. But I think even those players just absolutely love war because I think it's something that no matter what level you're at, if you find an alliance that's kind of at your level, you can be competitive, right? And you can make a difference, and um, you can it rewards understanding the matchups and all that sort of stuff. I actually think we're kind of entering a more fun age of an era of war, at the higher levels at least, because for a long time, and it's still like this for many um, for many alliances is that when you go to war, you go to something like the bot on your server, the msf.gg bot, or you go to some chart, you look up, okay, what's the counter? Okay, I see a Hydra there. Better, I'm going to use my Inhumans on on the Hydra or something. And I think it's all this cookie cutter stuff. It can become so boring. You always do the same fights over and over. And now everyone's making these hybrid teams, right? So, I think a lot of you have seen, for example, when you're looking at my war defense and war offense teams, all these hybrid teams, and it's going to become more and more that way because the number of slots that we have for attack and for defense are not growing, and yet we are, nonetheless, getting new teams added to the game, and so it just allows you to have more unique teams, and so I think War is in over time becoming more fun. It's becoming a more fun thing, and here I'm just hold on one second, everybody. I'm just gonna show you guys what I mean by the see the war offense here. So when we look at the war offense tier list, we got all these like hybrid X Factor, Ultron, Namor. You've got this Hydra 3.0. So I think that stuff's fun. I do think one problem though at high levels in war is, so one thing that's fun about playing wars in a mid game is that it's all about maximizing your matchups and getting these big punch ups, right? Like, can I get a 200k punch up with my Black Order team and that sort of thing. When you're in a high-end alliance, it's all about full clearing and who can full clear faster than the other guy, right? And I think that, um, I think that there's all this like who's setting their alarms to wake up early and who's rushing to full clear first. It's actually, it can be fun in its own way, but I think it's not good for the game. And I know a lot of people have offered suggestions along how to improve it. I still enjoy Alliance War though. And I do agree with the new player experience with Alliance War can be frustrating because I advise these newer players, and it's like I keep telling them to ignore war because I tell them that even if you lose in war, you get basically close enough to the same rewards. Focus on these build tall and focus on your Dark Dimension arena teams. But yet they want to win anyways, and there's a lot of shield teams around for a while. But once you get past that, sometimes a problem for newer players is there's all these like shells or inactive alliances full of all these veteran players that are in gold 3 or gold 2 but have massive accounts, and it could just there's just the matchup problems and the matchmaking, I think, is a problem that hurts new players, mid game players, and end game players alike. Yes, these
Yeah,
Google Docs are linked, by the way, Mac. You could just find them here. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your answer there, Don. I was just answering chat.
you're fine. I definitely completely agree, and yeah, I mean, I really like War, and it like disappoints me that it's one of the least active channels on my Discord, just because it doesn't really feel like War applies to new players all that much. Like you said, the rewards aren't that different for winning and losing. It's more of just like a fun factor. And I really like it. I wish there was more for new players to do with it, but you don't have the resources to build full teams, and just not really worth the investment to do it. So I definitely think that's kind of a disappointing thing for me. I definitely wish there was maybe some sort of solo mode that has like similar feeling to War.
Mm.
Just because there's so much fun with War, where it's like, it can come down to the last minute, whether you're full clearing or not. It can come down to the last minute, and you're building your roster and getting rewards for it and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I, I'm kind of not expecting War format changes myself. I think people are having fun building all these hybrid teams stuff. So it seems like they're going to focus more of their effort on something like the PvP RTA. I'm curious to see if they change War format, but I haven't seen them like mention War much of anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a hardcore alliance, but I'm in a competitive War alliance, and we have a lot of the same types of wars that you do, just a slightly slower. So it's hard for me to gauge like what the overall community feels about War. Like, do they think they have the same issues that we have, where it's like all offense because we want to clear as fast as possible, and take as few losses as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it seems like based on what they've said that they're going to be. My impression is they're going to be focusing more on like RTA type stuff.
I agree. I will just tell you, I mean, RTA is a game mode that needs to be overhauled because I love versus PvP. It's actually my favorite part of the game. And if they had like a real ELO bracket, let's say if I could battle everyone in my arena shard to see who's the best versus PvP drafter, I would love that. Like, I would probably play that all the time. I might forget everything else in the game and just focus on that because I enjoy that so I would enjoy that so much. But they've managed to ruin it, and RTA is just like a joke where you just spam stuff. So I don't
Yeah,
enjoy
I
RTA,
agree.
yeah, at all.
It's funny because I remember when it came out, I remember you saying how much you liked it, and I felt the same way. So when they first introduced PvP, like one of the reasons I'm even in our alliance clusters because I started participating in their PvP tournaments. I was just like eating it up. I would join every tournament that there was. I just like thought it was so much fun
Me too.
doing the draft and everything, and I never do RTA outside the battle pass now, and I mean I think that kind of goes between beginners and there's some really frustrating stuff for beginners too, but um, I think this kind of applies to everyone. I'm not seeing many people that are having a ton of fun with it, so I do want them to kind of focus on that. So
Yeah, I think that's
we'll see.
exactly right. I think that I do think that that's something that they need to fix. But for me, just so people know kind of what kind of player I am, and there's no um, uh, and by the way, Scoldred's laughing at my Hydra 3.0 team. I'm interested in what he thinks is better. Hey, Balba, thanks for the follow. What you think is wrong with the team? But I'll just say in terms of myself as a player, I'm not. Some people are so into war, like they're the war captain or the war leader. I'm not that guy. I do enjoy figuring out the right matchups for war and figuring out what the best teams are. You could tell I have my tier list, and just so you guys know where these tier lists come from, I there's another in my cluster. There's another top alliance. I think they're the 12th largest alliance in the game, and so I talk to their leaders and we kind of collaborate. And I get their input as I create this tier list, but it's based on essentially what I'm seeing in my wars and what they're seeing in their wars. We're in different zones and we're both in the top ELO bracket, so we're facing a lot of the top um, in the game. So Skuldrin is saying, okay, is that a 200k punch up? How do you keep Drax alive? The point of it is not to keep Drax alive. The point is for Drax to be a sacrificial lamb, where Drax is essentially there only when you're attacking um, a Shuri Merc team, just to prevent the passive of Killmonger from killing one of your important characters that can't be killed, which is essentially Zemo and Red Skull. That's the only point of Drax. Against a non-Shuri Merc team, you don't need to use Drax, but the point is not to keep him alive. It's just to help the characters that matter from surviving that initial burst. After that, um, the only characters that are going to matter there is Grenadier is going to be your highest damage. That's very important, or else the team won't work. And then Grenadier keeps getting attacked and keeps dying. And then Zemo is going to solo the enemy team because some of the important characters are minions. That's basically how the team works. Okay, and the only purpose of Winter Soldier is just to give crit to Zemo. So that's he can be that could be a flex character um, if you have a high red stars on a minion, you could substitute that. Okay, and yes, you could do huge punch ups, and I'll try to find one for you. Just trying to look for a good. I had one yesterday, a good screenshot to show you guys, but yeah. But that's that. But I guess is to me though, I get just so you guys know, I enjoy Dark Dimension. As you guys know, I enjoy raids right now. Doom raids is some of the most fun things in the game for me. Um, so all that stuff is really is really fun for me. I'm not kind of tied to one particular game mode. Okay. Where do I use Captain Marvel? I really don't. I throw her on Skilletary. I don't really use her. I don't think. I mean, she's not an important character anymore. hmm So
It seemed like this worked out well to kind of transition into more endgame
absolutely,
war stuff and stuff. So I don't
absolutely.
want I don't want to hog your stream up with all the beginner stuff. So.
Well, let me just say, guys. First of all, I don't view this as just beginner stuff because I think Voltage Sauce has given all of us, whether you're endgame players or not, really good. Thanks for the follow, Legendary Pew Pew. Really gives us a great perspective on the game, and I hope all of you appreciate Voltage Sauce's contribution. Even if you're like, I don't care as much about the perspective, you got to appreciate the work that he puts into helping new players. I really enjoyed this conversation. I want to have Voltage Sauce on more, but I do want your input either way. So I would ask you to go to my Discord and let me know what you think, one way or the other, about having. I put the link in the chat about having this conversation with Voltage Sauce. But for me, honestly, VoltageSauce, I think this was the best night of content that I've ever had on my stream. And
I
and
definitely
thanks to you.
appreciate that.
That's absolutely. Thank
I,
you for all you do for the game. I really appreciate that.
no problem, and I definitely won't be offended if your viewers would prefer your content. Well, one thing I do want to leave people with is there's a lot of like negativity about the game right now, and I'll say there's still a lot of people joining this game, um, and people are excited about the game, and a lot of the issues that people see are amongst their end game alliances and stuff like that, and so I just kind of want to throw that out there that while there's things that people want to complain about and stuff like that, there is I have a lot of hope for the game, and I think there's still people leaving the game, but just as many, if not more, joining. So
Yeah, I gotta just say this is a no. I'm just like a no salt, no negativity zone about that stuff on my stream. There are a lot of streams out there where everyone rants about Scopely all the time, and you're free to watch those. It's a free country, free world. If you're probably people in all sorts of countries listening, and so forth or watching. But for me, I think for me, I'm a real big activist in real life, and I'm really into a lot of political causes and stuff. But as far as this game goes, this is something I do as an escape. This is something I do for fun. And if I wasn't having fun, I'd leave. And so I like to spend my time in stream talking to you about the game and how to get better at the game. Well, thank you again, Voltage Sauce. It's a real pleasure. Have a good night with the kids, and thanks for giving us so much great content here.
yeah, anytime. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate all your guys' time.
All right. Have a good one.
See you.
All right. So, guys, this was fantastic. Bob, if you're still around, I'm happy to talk about your roster. Um, Rezi, I think I do think they're trying to make as much money as possible, and that's kind of how corporations are. But I'm having fun with the game anyway, and there's people all different levels who are having fun with the game, and that really, for me, is what matters. So, just have fun and do what you're doing. Um, with the game. Yeah, Yule Tidebringer's here, another important member of our community. Thank you, Yule, for the work that you've done to help people in our community. I'm really big on using the opportunities that we have to give back to the community. That's what I'm trying to do here on the stream. And people like Voltage Sauce or Yule Tidebringer or others that are doing things for the community, I think we have to recognize that. Because, I got a lot of my questions answered by players who helped me when I started. Yeah, no problem, Bob. And I would just say that that's why I like doing this, and I hope for all of you that you give back and try to help newer players as well. So right now I'm just you can see by the way why I don't really care about running U7 because I could just you'll see we'll just destroy the node in like 50 seconds here, 45 seconds. So any tips for the Greek raids? Yeah, I'm happy to talk through those with you, Tulazi. So let me blow up this node here, and then we can talk about the best teams for each node in the current raid. We can start with Alpha because I think that's what we're on right now. All right, so hold on one second. We got to beat this node first. It's not. This is going to be a joke with this team. Like you said, the Dad Bros are super awesome. Doom is pretty good too. By the way, I know there's some content creators who, you guys told me this. I didn't even know this. There's some content creators who say that Doom sucks. I don't know who those content creators are, but I feel very bad for them. Um, I don't know if they're just purposely trying to mislead people or what. All right, so that took me 56 seconds. Hey, TY guy. Um, hey, Rich Brian. Yeah, I know the joke there, right? Yeah, it's you gotta. Wow, Resi, I gotta tell you, that guy on Reddit who is having problems in his arena shard should have gone to should have watched my stream or gone to my Discord. Okay, let's talk about the alpha raids. All right, so the alpha raids have different. Here, we'll go to. We're gonna. I'll show you the raid first, so we'll make sure we're all talking about the same thing. So right now we're all running the alpha raid. We're running in a difficulty 3, which is the hardest difficulty. And so the lanes are the cosmic, the global, and then city. Okay. So let's just talk about what you run for each lane. Um, Makina is asking me, what do I think about Mercs with Killmonger but Red Guardian over Shuri? Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I have no problem with having Red Guardian there instead of Shuri. He serves a different function. He's basically there to screw up the X Force counter, but I think Shuri's better. Okay, so let's talk about. Well, we'll talk about global lanes in a second. So I'm going to start with the easy ones. City is easy, right? Because we have the symbiotes. If you are lacking a symbiote, like let's say you have one of the symbiotes low, maybe you have an unlocked Scream or something, you can throw in Doc Ock, and that's pretty much your best team. Okay. Um, for Cosmic, you got some great options. So first of all, if you have the Dad Bros level up, they're the best. You can have Thanos, the Dad Bros. You basically want to have some combination of Thanos and Maw together. You got Minerva, the Dad Bros, and Black Bolt. That's kind of, and then who's the fifth character. So there was an old team that people used to use in early U7 where it was like Maw and Order, right? Where they had like Thanos and he was feeding energy both to Maw and to Minerva, and then you had characters on the sides, right? And those characters could be Black Bolt. You can have Hela, or excuse me, he was actually feeding energy. I apologize, to Black Bolt and to Maw and Minerva, and it was on the end, and then it was like used to have like Hela or Cull on the end. But now you could, like I said, you could just have the Dad Bros. You could feed energy to them. It really doesn't matter. Any combination of those characters are going to be ridiculous for Cosmic. Okay. Um. Yep. So Bishop, I would say you're not going to use him solo. Invisible Woman's cooldowns are too long. Just to show you the other characters here. Crystal, if you have a massive Crystal with Black Bolt and Yo-Yo are fine, but or Yo-Yo's not there, so you're not going to use Crystal. I forgot she's global. Thor, I would not use. Okay. You can also use Mordo with Hela if you want. I wouldn't. I would hope those. I think those other options are better, but you could. All right, so now let's get to global. That's what's harder for people. Everyone's like, global sucks, and I don't know. Okay, obviously Doom is the best for global, but let's assume you don't have Doom. So, Emma Frost is really good. Sinister is really good, but one thing that's unfortunate with if you play Sinister is you're gonna have to really think about the nodes. So Sinister really relies on your knowledge of gameplay. You have to know what to clone and when to heal. And having level 5 ISO on Frost and Sinister is really helpful. Um, um, Ghost is actually excellent in these, and I use Ghost a lot. So before I unlocked Doom, my team used to be here: Frost, Sinister, Ghost, and then it would depend on the node. The early nodes, I was using stuff like Zemo and X-23 just to get damage and get it done quicker. Um, but it just depends. I think that it depends on the node, and you're gonna have to sort of mix and match. Jubilee is a great standalone option because she has those blinds, which give you, like I said, it's almost like 100% protection. Because if an enemy is blinded, they can't hit you at all. Shuri, by the way, the Shuri Yo-Yo combo is really important. So why is Shuri Yo-Yo such a vital combination? Let me teach you something about the game that's very important. By the way, Shuri Yo-Yo is a proven combo that you use whenever you're starting out a difficult raid. Why are they such a proven combo? Because Shuri is one of the fast characters in the game because she starts with the speed up, and she will give you defense up. Okay? Why is defense up so important? It reduces incoming damage by 50%. That's huge. 50% of all damage is not being hit. So if 100 damage is coming in, it becomes 50 damage. Then we've got something else. Yo-Yo always gives the enemy offense down, as long as there's no other protector. Offense down. Okay, that's huge because that's 50% less damage coming in from the enemy. So if they have 100 damage, it gets down to 50 on the offense down, and then that gets halved again by Yo-Yo. So you're really, or excuse me, by Shuri's defense up. So you're really, as long as that defense up, two-turn defense up holds, you're basically facing 25% damage. That's the value of these two characters. So if you're having trouble staying alive, use those two characters, and you're going to live a lot longer. Um, Jubilee, by the way, the blinds are also good for keeping you alive. In terms of other characters, Black Widow, Hawkeye are fine because Hawkeye has the blinds similar to Jubilee if you don't have Jubilee unlocked. The issue really on global is damage. How do you have enough damage to get things done? Ghost has got that drain, which is kind of okay. It's a little slow. X23 could be okay. I've run her because I'm in a global lane. I've run Zemo. Depends on what you can get away with keeping alive. It depends on how good your protectors are. Um, yes, Yehi, you're right. If your yo-yo is not um, if it is not beefed up, you can get resisted. But the way around that is to get level 5 skirmisher. Level 5 skirmisher gives you 50% extra focus. Hey, Pineapple Sean, thanks for the follow. So Johnny asks, will DD4 City be good with SSM, Carnage, Merc Lieutenant, and Scream? Yep, you'll be fine. Merc Lieutenant will die in one hit, but the other three will be okay. Um, what other characters? When I look at the other characters here, Phoenix doesn't work well in the difficulty slide. Hey, Luigi, thanks for the follow. Because you can't res her. That's one of the things. You can't heal or res in this new slider. So Phoenix doesn't work as well. She's only one node. You can't res her. Colossus is worthless without Phoenix, in my opinion. If you have a really tricked out Mystique, I have a 7 red star, but I don't have her really tricked out. You can use her with Sinister and Emma, and even Strife. So some people in my alliance are doing that. I wouldn't really use a lot of these other characters. Now, Red Guardian is fantastic, but you can't use Yo-Yo and Red Guardian together, and I prefer Yo-Yo to Red Guardian in the way the teams I'm running the teams, but Red Guardian is also amazing. He's certainly amazing in skill nodes and DD or Doom Raid, but I prefer Yo-Yo here. I prefer Yo-Yo Shuri combo. And I use that with Emma Frost, who has the great cleanse and other things. Thanks for the follow. Now, for me, I'm just trying to keep everyone alive while Doom destroys everyone. But you have the real problem I found with global, like I said, is damage more than anything. Have I run Red Guardian with Doom and Arena? Yep, it doesn't hold. I know that there's some content creators who are making these videos that are kind of misleading. They're like, Doom changes the meta, holds, and it really doesn't. In fact, somebody in my Arena Shard sent me a video. He actually watches the stream, and he was showing me how he beat some of my Doom defenses. He's one of the smart guys in my Shard who, can beat me. And if I don't, win quickly enough at the end, he can steal first for me. That sort of thing. Yeah. So no, there's no team right now, Doom team, that holds in the arena consistently. Essentially, if you're a really smart player, you just find a hybrid that can beat it. Mhm. 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 Hey, there you are, Urso. Yeah, he showed it. He showed me how he beat my Doom, and so forth. And so yeah, it's always possible to do that. Um, hey, thanks Insane Park for the follow. Yeah, I don't. Yuletide Trigger said, I suspect nothing will ever hold. It really depends on your shard. For a period of time, I was the only guy in my shard. For about 3.5 months, I was the only guy in my shard who had Black Order. So that helped extremely well for many months. But yeah, usually things don't hold. It really, what it does to me is it's just it it's a matter of how well does it hold. In other words, my hybrid Doom teams do hold against certain players who are not very good at the game because they just are so used to cookie cutter teams that they don't know what to do with my weird hybrid. So I enjoy running those. I think they're fun. It's fun to see how those teams do um, in just in which players can beat them because there's certain people in my chart are really smart and are good at coming up with hybrids on the fly, and others that are not. So, Resi, my arena defense team is usually Black Order, but then 10 minutes before payout, I swap it to a different Doom team, and I swap around the Doom teams just for fun. And just to see how different ones hold and so forth. It's just kind of an experiment for me, and I feel like it really hurts certain players who just don't know what to do because a lot of them are so used to just beating Black Order that they don't know what to do with an unusual team. That's the only reason I do it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a lot of people have said that sort of thing, like to add a history, and I agree at that point, 100%. Yeah, I mean the Dad Bros are pretty ridiculous. And this is, the advantage of being kind of an end game player is spending getting the new characters. I get to see the best characters as soon as they come out and so on, right? I use Doom on war defense. On offense, he's great. In fact, what I originally the first couple wars after I got Doom, I used him on offense just so I could learn the character. And like I would put him on like offense with garbage teams like the Guardian or the Pim, and the rest of them are just fodder. Like you know, basically drawing people away from Doom, and like Doom would do these massive punch ups with these crappy teams. But I use him on defense now, and he usually can get me at least one defensive win. There's some teams that are better, or some alliances that are good enough to one shot it, but it's pretty rare. Yep, I agree, Yul. I know that. That's why I said it's specific to your situation. Hey, Ultra. Yep, my Yashard, by the way, Yul is already caught up. I mean, there's a guy with 730 something K Black Order. Yep. Yeah, this is U7.5, Pineapple Sean. U7.5. We run this every other day. So just so you know, you guys usually watch me running Doom Raid, and we're working on a Doom Raid guide and everything. But we run this in between because not for me. I mean, as you guys can tell, I don't really have a problem. Hey, McKenna, thanks for the follow. I don't really have a problem running the Dude Raid, but some of my alliance mates need a lot of heals and energy and stuff. So this gives them a break in between. But for me, this is just, as you can tell, it's just a joke. I'm just pressing buttons and chit chatting with you guys. I'm in barracks on War D. I'm in a good room. A room that where like I get double stacked. If you guys, I'll show you guys my war defense in a second. Give me a minute. Let me just beat this node and we can take a look at my war defenses for a second. Hold on. It's just this is what the second mini boss. It takes some slight. I mean, it's not like there's a risk that I'm gonna lose, but I have to like slightly pay attention. I don't know. This is so boring to me. That's why I basically told my alliance I'm out if you guys aren't running Doom Raid because I find this too boring. So that's why we run the Doom Raid all the time. Color ghosts. So Crystal, we were talking about this earlier. It's a good question about color ghosts. So here would be my thought. I would only go cull if you really need to get cull to a star level. Like, oh, I'm 50 shards short on cull. That sort of cull's fifth star, that sort of thing. Like I totally get there that you would spend some of the valiant things on cull. But otherwise, I would go ghost. And I also would say too that you know I could also see a situation where somebody really is relying on Black Order in their arena and they're in a newer shard or they're a newer player or whatever, and just getting getting called to a higher star level makes a big difference. Like that's the other thing that could potentially impact it. But generally speaking, I think most people should be choosing Ghost. Theories on what class is the label Silver Surfer? Yeah, I have no idea. You should ask somebody who's more of a comic book guy than me. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna show you guys stock watch on the screen for a minute while we are while I'm getting to my war defense because I can't show you our layout. Um, check my Discord out, Skeleton Fish. Here's my link to the Discord because that I have the ISO stuff on there. All right, let's go to war defense for a minute. By the way, cable you don't use with the Dad Bros. Um, Silver Surfer to bring the DD4 Pineapple Sean instead of Hella? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't know how good Silver Surfer is going to be. For all we know, he's going to be like a raid-oriented character. I have no idea, how good Silver Surfer is going to be. I assume he'll be good because they're going to want people to buy him. But who knows, right? I mean, would you have ever thought, 6 months ago that like Jubilee was going to be or would be like, one of the better characters in the game? I don't know. Whoops, this is Armory. All right, guys. Here's all right. So you guys want to see my war defenses? Here's my war defenses. So these three teams here are just garbage. Pim occasionally gets a defensive win because I have a Gear 15 Ghost. But they're basically garbage. I mean, they're not a very good team. They're tier 4 war defense. This is pure trash. It's just that the best thing to do is to take Hela and the Asgardians off of defense, and then run her with Supernatural. But I don't have Supernatural built because I'm a newer player and it's T4 intensive. So I just throw this down here and throw a big Minerva, and they usually use symbiotes on it, and that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people to waste their 500 and something K symbiotes on this instead of using them on our Sinister Six or Inhuman Shield. This is purely because I invested heavily into skill military, and they're just not reliable enough on war offense. They're capable of beating teams on war offense, but it's too RNG based, and I can't afford to lose an Alliance War. So I just throw them on defense with Captain Marvel. And the reason I throw Captain Marvel there is so I can put Killmonger here. This is She-Hulk, She-Hulk F4. That's a pretty good team. But really what you want to do is you want to have, instead of having a Gear 15 Invisible Woman, you want to have a humongous She-Hulk and a smaller Invisible Woman. So you really need to have your She-Hulk as big as your Invisible Woman. So that this team is not as strong as it could be. Usually draws a Fantastic Four and a slight punch down. This is a very strong team. This is Shuri, Killmonger, Mercs. That's a strong team, and it'll be stronger over time. As if I got Taskmaster to Gear 15, that'd be a much stronger team. This team is very strong. Wave 1. It's another top tier war defense team. She-Hulk is great, Rezi, if you build her up to huge size. She's a character that scales really, really well with gear because she's one of these characters that gets charges and and then hits you after she gets a number of charges, kind of like Thor. But if you hit her, she also gets charges, unlike Thor. So she's massive. She just keeps taking damage. She keeps healing herself, and she keeps throwing all the debuffs back at you and hitting you. As for Wave 1, the problem with my Wave 1 is that I brought these two characters into DD4, so they're massive. The two biggest characters should be these two, Thor and Hulk. This team does very well, although Astonishing X-Men are a big counter to them, as I showed you recently. Multiple times I've done attacks for you guys. I'm going to have another video coming up on my stream soon. We already have one, by the way, on my YouTube that you can see, but we're going to have another one soon. And then this is the Doom team here. I got a Gear 15 Sinister, Gear 15 Emma, and Gear 14 Strife, and then Mystique 7 Red Stars, but she's only Gear 13. All right. So that's a pretty good team. And it sometimes will take 4 or 5 attacks for an enemy to beat it. At my level, that's almost unheard of. But usually it takes 2 usually for them to beat it. Sometimes people one-shot it, but they have to really know what they're doing. Okay, those are my war defenses. Now I am, I'm in an alliance where I'm one of the lowest members of my alliance. Oh, thanks, Pineapple. So there's people with even scarier defenses than me. If you look at my alliance, whoops. I'm the third lowest. So there's people with even better defenses than I have. Yeah, about using. So Resi was saying about using Sinister Six with Healer in the Villains campaign. So here's the reason why people do that. So this team at the top is the end game Sinister Six team. They are like end game relevant. I have them in my own war defense. This guy here is a legendary. So what people do is they leave him off and they use the other 4 plus like one of these guys or some other character like Zemo or something else that they got in a lucky orb. And they use that on the villains campaign or whatever. The issue with it is, Swarm attacks himself literally for damage if he doesn't have Doc Ock running with him. Electro's pretty squishy. They don't have a healer. And so the way you get around that is you put healer ISO on all of them, and that apparently is enough to keep everyone up, is the healer ISO, is what I'm told. So new players are using that. And the reason they do it is because aim kind of sucks in the late game, whereas this team is still relevant. You're welcome, Helmax. What rank is my alliance, Pineapple? Well, so when you look at the alliances in the game, all right, so these are the strongest alliances in the game, and from top to bottom, and we are 54th. All right, so and you'll see there a lot of these are very close in size. This is 71, 72, 73, 74. They really don't start jumping. 78. I mean, you can jump up 20 spots. Like we've been in the high 40s. We've been slightly lower than where we are. You kind of jump around a lot because these are all bunched together. They really start to take off right here at the very top. Just these few at the very, very top. Here they got super big. Oh, sure, Underdog. Yeah, I know that alliance. We faced them before in war. Mm-hmm. Okay, so McKenna says, I usually use Warbot for my attacks, but these hybrid teams aren't in there, so what are the best teams to use? The Dad Bros Ultron team and the Supernatural with Hella on. Okay. So the Dad Bros with Hell. So first of all, you can look in my YouTube to see the Dad Bros with Ultron in action. But let me show you. I'm going to show you guys some stuff here. Hold on. We went over this in a prior stream, but I'll happy to bring these back. All right. All right, so this is an attack. This was me trying a 210k punch up, and I failed because Emma was so big. She's like a 7-red star Emma or something. It was so hard. She healed so much that we couldn't do it. But obviously, I was using G12 characters and G13 into G15 and 14. But this is the team using against Marauders. Okay, and they do very well up to 50k, 100k punch up, something like that. And then as to and then you asked about Hella Natural. I can get you that. Hold on. I gotta get it. There's people in my alliance that are always bragging about what they do with their Hella Natural stuff. So let me show you. All right, so this is, whatever, 150k punch up. Hella Natural usually goes into Wave 1 Avengers. Okay, there you go. How big are my X-Men? They're a little bit under 500k. 495k. Um, so what are my thoughts on the arena viability for Jubilee and Bishop? Yeah, I'm not very excited about them as a pair because what I see is, Jubilee's a hero controller, so when she's killed by a team that has Maw, then they get a barrier and they get an immunity. And then Bishop is a really amazing character, but he's a great damager, but he only has taunt for one turn. Like, you attack him and then he loses taunt, and so as a practical matter, you just avoid attacking him, and he doesn't really do the taunting thing. Hey Benny, thanks for the follow. Yep. Reminex is right. You want to have Beast in there, and the Beast AI kills himself. Yeah, we were playing around. I could show you an arena. We were playing around a second ago, right, with... It's not reset yet, so I can do this. Here, I'll show you right now. All right, let's use the small... This is the smallest of the 3 black orders. This guy's too big. He's got full G15. So this is a small one here. We'll do the Astonishing Axemen here. But what we'll do is we'll do all right, we'll do I'll just show you that this team just doesn't work that well in arena. We got to put Jubilee over here because even though you usually want to get them to low health, if she dies, it's basically game over. Because all right, so this is 608 team. So this isn't that big of a punch up, but my team's going to get destroyed. I'll show you. We tried this team earlier. Yeah, the Spider-Man's in there just because it's a blitz team. Creatures. That team wins at 8.3 no matter what. I could put a bunch of hobos in there with the dad bros, and they're going to win anyway. Supernatural team is Chimera. You could take a look at the War Offense tier list. It's like a tier 3 or 4 team. You see now, look at Bishop. Okay, he got attacked, but he loses his taunt. All right. As you can see, the one who's really doing all the work here is Longshot. It's not the X-Men. Okay. The X-Men are doing all the damage. Really keeping everyone alive. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah. As you can see, the Axemen just don't really do much anything. I don't... Oh, I should have used the alt Reminex. Oh. Well, I misplayed it. I should have been watching chat. Reminex was telling me how to be a better player. Hey, Runyon, thanks for the sub. Oh, well. All right, we'll do it. This is what we're going to do it again before reset. We'll do it one more time. And we'll try to do it the Reminex way because Reminex knows better. Hey, thanks. Thanks, not. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, I have. Um, we could try it. I could do Phoenix and Bishop. I don't think that's going to do very well, but we could try it. None of these teams are holding, and I've seen the video footage of these guys just raping my team, so my arena team. So Black Order does about as well. So am I right to focus Maw here, Reminex? It's kind of. I tried focusing Cull earlier, and that didn't work as well. Hey Anuka, thanks for the follow. Wow, Bishop is barely alive. So you're telling me, Remnex's telling me to do the alt here. Oh. Alright, Remnex has done this way more times than I have. So, the problem is, as Remnex knows, is there's a delay in the stream. So I don't see his suggestions until it's too late. Oh! Oh, I'm sure Remix is telling me, I'm going to tell me that I used the wrong thing. Alright, well, that's the end of that. And they get buried because Jubilee's a hero controller. Alright. Oh, well. Well, guys. Yep. I think it's safe to say that one doesn't work, guys. Um, I'll tell you, today has been probably the coolest streaming day we've had. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot from you guys. I thought we had a good conversation with VoltageSauce. Um, yeah, my bishop. I got bishop to gear 15 as well. I did it not because of arena though. I was under no illusions that it was going to be like my arena meta thing. It was just because I think he's one of the best characters in the game. I'm satisfied with that. I got a really great team out of it. So, in any event, it's been a fun night. I appreciate everyone's support of the stream. We had our first level 2 hype train tonight, which is pretty awesome. So guys, who else is streaming? I gotta rate somebody with everybody. It's getting late tonight, but I really appreciate all your support. Do you realize, guys, it's 141 viewers right now? We have had so many viewers today, and I really hope that you've enjoyed the content. This is just my first week of streaming, and I'm so glad you're saving for X Factor. That's the right move. We have the stock watch that's going to be coming out. Reminex, if you see my stock watch, it's going to be a new infographic that I'm going to do every month. You can tell me. We can discuss the differences with the your views on the meta versus mine. So guys, who's streaming? Who are we going to raid? Oh, thanks, Jax. I appreciate it, guys. I'm really trying to get better at streaming. We got a guy working on emotes and badges. We've got we got another guy who. So Johnny, thanks for the follow. We got another guy who's been watching my video on demand, and we're working on a Doom raid guide. So we got a lot of content on the way. We got Stockwatch will be turned into an infographic soon too. We got the new DD4 infographics coming out very soon. Rexus, thanks for the follow. Am I getting a camera? We'll discuss that tomorrow. Something to look forward to, guys. But I hope you had a good one today. Here, I'm gonna let's any what we could talk last minute questions before we go. Um, guys, it's been an absolute blast though tonight. Honestly, this has been our most watched stream, and it's been a lot of fun. I've just had a blast with it. But I'm interested. Does anyone have any last questions before we go? But camera for me, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to show my face. In all seriousness, guys. Um, where's my trying to get some music here? But I'll tell you, my bandwidth is going. Hey, thanks again. Thanks, Marvel Nerd. That's very kind. Really glad. Well, Reminex is fantastic as well. Any thoughts on Red Guardian in Dark Dimension? He will be on my new Dark Dimension 4 infographic. I thought I will show you guys. We'll do one last. I thought I showed you guys my new Dark Dimension 4 infographic yesterday. Yep, he is on the new infographic that will come out in the next day or so. All right, who should we raid, guys? Who's streaming? My Dutch Rudder. Why don't we stream Dutch? Why don't we raid Dutch Rudder? It's been real, guys. See you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.